Hi folks, this is Dr. Bomi Joseph from Peak Health, and today's topic is on breathing, right? Last time I talked about the mind, and along with the mind, I think the breath and breathing is one of the most important things for health. And the simple question I always ask is, what's the first thing you ever did when you were born? Took in a breath. What's the last thing you're going to do when you're alive? Exhale. So everything you do in life revolves around breathing. But when was the last time you did breathing exercises? When was the last time you focused on the quality of your breath? Usually never. I see that in gyms, people pump up, do biceps, pretty useless exercises for health. But one of the most important things you can do to exercise is your lungs and your breath. So I've drawn a diagram, and that's not meant to accurately represent your lungs, so it's kind of crude. But here's your lung. This is the trachea from which your air goes in. And this is the bronchial tubes. And essentially in every lung, the right and the left lung, you'll see the branch, a major branch in the upper lung, a branch in the middle lung, and a branch in the lower lung. And the breathing and the breath you take actually affects your mind. A very big part of meditation is focusing on breath, right? So when you're breathing and you're breathing comfortably, it does affect your mind, it calms your mind. Breath, the quality of your lungs and the quality of your breath is extremely important for your heart rate. And there's a section I'm going to be doing on exercising where it is geared towards elite athletes. And I'm going to show you guys how to reduce your heart rate when you're really stressed out by your breathing technique. Your psyche is very affected by breathing. You're calmer and you're more relaxed when you take in a lot of good quality breaths. And it's extremely important for your health. So let's get into it a little bit. Most people I see breathing like this. Right? When I tell somebody taking a breath, they go, and usually in movies, when somebody wants to act tough, they go, right? So what are they doing? When you do this, right, it's a very macho thing to do, like pump your chest out. But you're really only taking your breath in the top part of your lung. Your lung is a balloon, not like a balloon, it is a balloon. And the narrow part is on top, and the broad part is at the bottom. So when I do this, I'm taking a shallow breath in the top part of my lung. And I'll give you the math. For an average male, a 5'9" male, a lung capacity is about 6 liters of air. So when I do this, taking this shallow breath and pump my chest out, I'm taking about 2 liters of air into my lungs, right? However, about 1.5 liters of that air is in my trachea and my bronchial tubes. It doesn't actually enter the lung, right? That's like a fixed price you pay. You breathe in some air, not all the air goes into your lung cavity. Some of it's still stuck in the trachea and your bronchial tubes. So when I do this, I'm actually only getting about half a liter of actual air into my lungs. Now when I take shallow breaths, I do, because my timing of my breath is going to be shorter, every minute I'm going to be taking more breaths, right? So my breathing rhythm is going to be faster. However, I'm only taking very little air in every time into that lung cavity. When I take what I call a moderate breath, which is a little deeper, right? I'm getting about 4 liters of air in to my lungs. 1.5 is still stuck in the trachea and the bronchial tubes. I'm being approximate. So I'm getting about 2.5 liters of air into my lungs. However, when I take a deep breath, and a deep breath is when I start at the bottom, right? I'm going to empty everything out and my hands are going to coordinate. So it's a LIFO system, right? Last in, first out. I start breathing, I pull in the air from the bottom, and I work my way up, fill this up. This is the last part that fills up, not the first. And then when I exhale, this is the first part that goes out, and then I work my way down to the bottom, right? What's the huge advantage of this? You're starting at the bottom where the lung capacity is the largest. And where the lung is the largest, the air is going to stay there the longest. And this is very important because that's how oxygen diffusion takes place. You have your arteries coming in from this side, you got all your veins coming in from this side, and at the point where they meet is where the oxygen-rich blood comes in and the carbon dioxide-rich blood comes in from here, and they meet, and there's that diffusion. The carbon dioxide gets passed off to this side, the oxygen gets passed to this side, and boom, it keeps going. I'm sorry, it's the carbon dioxide-rich blood comes in from here, the oxygen-rich blood comes in from here, and they get exchanged, and it goes on, right? So, at the end of the day, the longer that air stays in there and the longer that diffusion takes place, the more oxygen moves and the more carbon dioxide moves. So, the red in the middle is, I've done the math, and take my word for it, I've accounted for the larger number of shallow breaths, and I've accounted for the lesser number of deeper breaths. But if you do the math, and I'm not talking about air, I'm talking about oxygen right now, right? If I calculate oxygen in liters per minute, the shallow breath, which is this, more breaths, shallower, gives me about 0.3, about 0.4 liters of oxygen per minute into my body, into my blood. When I take a medium breath, it gives me about 1.3 liters of oxygen into my blood, right? And when I take a deep breath, and I'm going to use my hands to coordinate, right? I got a lot of practice doing this. I'm starting from the bottom. That breath gives me about 1.6 liters of oxygen per minute going in and out. And we're going to practice. We're going to actually practice, time it, and you're going to see exactly how many breaths you get per minute doing the different ways of doing this. But anyway, so if you breathe from the bottom properly, you're going to be training. This is an exercise for your lungs. Your lungs per se, the tissue, gets used to a lot more diffusion. So the quality of that tissue gets better. Your alveoli, right, your bronchial tubes, the intercostal muscles that powers my breath, all these things start getting more and more powerful. The whole infrastructure that powers your breathing gets much more powerful. People who take shallow breaths are going to have a weak infrastructure. People who take strong, powerful breaths have a lot of muscles and a lot of power in them. What's the advantage? All these things are connected. When I started off, I said the breath, the mind, the heart, your psyche, your health are all connected, right? I'm just going to give a few variables. When you have a lot of practice breathing, when you develop a powerful breath, the stroke volume, which is the amount of blood that's pumped out of your left ventricle, when your heart squeezes and pumps blood, the volume of the blood that your heart pumps out is going to be greater. The mitochondrial density, the quality of your blood that's pumped out, so when grabbing more oxygen, carrying more oxygen, because you are powering more oxygen and carbon dioxide back and forth. The density, the quality of your blood is going to be better. The diffusion, I talked about the oxygen carbon dioxide diffusion, that rate's going to be faster. Your recovery rate, your heart rate recovery, when you're exercising, when you're under stress, when you're under duress, and you have to recover, that recovery rate's going to be higher. For an elite athlete, right, and most people who train, when you train, you're training for this. You want to develop a great output. You want to develop a very powerful serve. You want to develop a very fast pitch or a throw. A boxer wants to have a very powerful muscle. A linebacker wants to hit hard. You want to develop more output with less effort, right? The movies where people go, wrong technique. That's bad. You don't want to be exerting a lot in order to generate a lot of power. The better the athlete you are, the more your performance and the better your output with less effort. So with powerful breathing and with powerful breath infrastructure, you're going to be generating a lot more output and you're going to be putting less effort, which means at the end of the day, the guy who's better trained and who's got a better vascular capacity is going to be breathing less hard. He's going to be more relaxed. He's going to have more energy left after 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds than the guy who's weaker. And when you see the guy who's weaker getting getting gassed out, and you see the other boxer sitting here toying with him, the guy who's toying with him has got a far greater output, far greater capacity. He's trained a lot better than the guy who's weaker, right? So the guy who's stronger is actually putting less effort in. All this comes down to breathing and the quality of breath, the quality of your lung tissue, and the quality of the techniques that you're using every day. We're going to have 4 or 5 more videos on this where we're actually going to get into techniques. But this video is just on the theory and sort of giving you a peek on the insides of breath, the connection to the mind, the connection to the heart, the connection to the health, and the connection to the rest of the tissues in your body. I hope you liked this talk, and I hope this was useful. And if you liked it, please hit like, share the video, and watch out for the other videos that we're making from here. Thank you.